Hello guys, good day to you. I will teach you, this time I'm going to have a tutorial. I will teach you how to do shading using cross-hatching. So this is to teach you some basic technique on how to use cross-hatching when shading your drawing. For example, what part should be dark, what part should be light, what part should be black. Okay, so we will focus on two tools right here. This is my Pantograph Gear 1000. If you have it, you can use it, but whatever brand you're using doesn't matter. I will really suggest to use a mechanical pencil when it comes to cross-hatching because it takes a lot of lines, especially thin lines if you want to use pencil for cross-hatching. So the thinner, the better. But if you don't have mechanical pencil, you can use the same, the normal pencil, where but you'll have to sharpen it all the time if you need it. Okay, next, get your fine liner pen. Right now I'm using Rotring Isograph. How thin is it? It's 0.10 currently. So this is my favorite pen. I use it all the time in all of my drawings. The reason is it's too thin. If you want a better effect when it comes to having cross-hatching technique, using cross-hatching technique, I suggest to use a thin fine liner pen. So let's go. I already started some drawings here. This is Mikasa, but I don't want to make it look like the actual Mikasa in the anime because it's just too boring copying something. You're not stylizing it. It's just straight up copying something like a printer or like a Xerox machine, photocopy machine. So I don't like that. So normally I stylize my drawings like this. They supposedly not should look like the original character. And then I really like this one because I'm not sure why, but I like it. Okay, all right, let's use this blank page. So we're gonna use basic shape. We are going to use basic shape here, and I'm going to teach you how to what part is dark, what part is light, to create values and depth to your drawings. So let's start making a rectangular cube. So it's easier to sketch if you're using pencil. You can be free on using lines, right? You don't need to fear making a mistake because you're using a pencil and you can easily erase it in case you made a mistake. The only problem is when you start inking. Inking is a little bit hard because you'll have to make sure not to mess up, because if you mess up, those ink will not be easily erased. You'll have to deal with the mess, like figuring out how to make that mess to be part of your artwork, or just do it all over again. So we have three basic shape here. We have rectangular three-dimensional rectangle, and then we have a cylinder lying at the back, and then we have a circle, not a perfect circle, it's just a sphere, that's it. Okay, and then let's say that light source is coming here. Light source is right here. So if the light source is right here, this part will be illuminated. This part right here as well will be illuminated. Illuminated meaning that part is the lightest part of the object. This part as well is illuminated. This part is illuminated. This part, and this part will be dark. Okay, and since the light is coming from here, this object will cast a shadow. So let's say this is the shadow of the cylinder, let's say this is the shadow of the sphere, and this is the cast shadow of this object, the the brick rectangular cube. Okay, and let's say they are okay. So once we have determined which part is light, which part is dark, we can start doing the cross hatching. Okay, so get your fine liner or get your pen. For me, I'll get my rotring isograph and start, shading. And what I'm doing is that I'm gonna cross hatch using short lines. So meaning my cross hatching will look like this, not too long. Okay, it will be short like this. Okay, so that's what I'm gonna do throughout all the process. So normally I start with the if we have a light and then the dark, I start with the middle. So meaning it's the mid tone. It's not the lightest part, it's not the darkest part, it's in between. Okay, so obviously if this let's start with this object. So if this is illuminated, we'll leave it blank. It's illuminated, meaning the light source is hitting this part, so it will be blank. This part is slightly illuminated but not the darkest part, so meaning this is our midtone. So we can start our hatching here. You can also use hatching in a long straight line, but for me I start with the messy line. As long as it's not the dark part of this object, it's gonna be fine. It will turn out great. Now you might notice that I'm not being careful with my lines, and the direction of my lines are not polished, and the length of my lines are not equal. Well, I do it all the time. The reason is I don't like making clean drawing. It's always messy. It's about how you express your expression whenever you draw, because if you're always being careful, you don't play anymore, meaning you're not being creative, because whatever you're thinking is that you always think that you don't want to make a mistake. I don't want to make a mistake. I don't want to make a mistake. So the creativity is lost during the process. So I like messy line because it lets you express. Sometimes your emotions will reflect your lines, and that's a good thing. That's what makes your drawings unique than the other drawings that you see online. You see this very clean drawing, but you don't feel anything about it. And then suddenly you scroll down, you see a drawing, very messy, but you feel something whenever you look at it. So, good thing. So this is our midtone. Next we go to the darkest, meaning this part is not being illuminated. Light doesn't reach it. So to make it dark, all you need to do is to add more cross-hatching lines. You overlap a lot of lines to make it darker. Now another thing to remember here is that this part will not be totally dark, because you see there are objects surrounding this object. So meaning if this part is being illuminated, that light is being reflected to different directions. So meaning some part of this object will catch that bounce light. So we normally call it bounce light. That's why it's not totally dark. There will be light reflected by the other objects surrounding it, and this part right here will catch it. You can also make this darker by using thicker tip or thicker pen. And that way you'll be able to increase the depth, increase the darkness on this part. Okay, so this part right here will be blank, meaning it's totally no lines will be present there. But in order for us to separate the values of dark and light, we will create a darker background over here. We don't need to we don't need to create we don't need to fill the whole paper actually. So just focus on the edges of the object. Make sure that the values of light and dark is distinguished totally apart from each other. So if this part is dark, this side right here should be darker. That is only for us to separate the values of light and dark. So you see, this is how I do the cross hatching. I create small lines and then overlap it with another sets of lines opposite to each other. If you take a look at it from afar, the effects are really good, especially if you're using thinner tip. These are fundamental techniques, meaning you really need to undergo this type of practice. This will increase muscles to your wrist, to your hand, draw easier in the future. Cylinder. I started here, the dark part of the cylinder, and also connected it with the cast shadow of the rectangular cube. So obviously the cast shadow should be darker as well, darker than any shades that we already did in this drawing. So for me, this is a great time to absence of light, meaning light cannot reach it. So obviously it should be the darkest value. So keep on overlapping lines until you are satisfied with how dark the value of your cast shadow is. So you see, these are the different values of cross hatching. We just use lines. I also use one pen only. I did not use a lot, like when it comes to graphite pencil. You have the Subi, HB, 4B, 8B, like that. But we only use one pen right here. If you want to increase the darkness, just overlap a lot of lines to make it darker. If you want to make it lighter, just leave it blank. If you want a smooth transition between light and dark, just start with the mid-tone by using hatching like this one, and then overlap lines as you go darker. Okay. Remember, this shadow right here is the own shadow of this object. This shadow is darker. It is because it is opposite to the direction of light. So that means this is darker than the rest of the part of this object. This part right here is very dark because light cannot reach it. This part right here is cast shadow, meaning light cannot reach it. Light is being blocked by this object, resulting to shadow being casted. So meaning cast shadow will be the darkest value in your drawing. Okay, this part right here is lighter compared to the rest of the shaded part of the sphere. It is because those are reflected light. So when light hits the object surrounding this sphere, it's being reflected over here. Is it reflected light or bounce light? Call it sometimes like that. This is a soft contour, meaning it's the smooth transition between light and dark. We don't just place a dark value here and then blank. We need to have a little bit of transition going on here. So you see this is totally blank. Lines here are a bit far away from each other. Two lines are overlapping over here. Multiple lines are overlapping here. A lot of lines are overlapping here to make it darker. Now this part right here the background or just an additional effect. We just add it to to increase contrast, or to give you an impression that this part is being illuminated. It's like focusing on the light source. That's why we add these effects, the background, because we are using white paper and this part is being illuminated, meaning that's blank part. The dramatic effect is not present if we do that. So instead, we add dark values over here, to emphasize the part that is being illuminated, to emphasize the distinct pattern between light and dark. Okay, so yeah, so that's how I shade. That's how I use cross-hatching to create values in my drawings. So I hope you learned something in this lesson, and be sure to check out some of my videos in the near future. Okay, so practice a lot, and I'm really hoping that you become better in the future. So that's all for today. I'll see you in the next one.